I just hit the earth. I just took a slurp. I might take a nerd, put him in the dirt. I just read the stove. I don't see a clerk. Got the purple gun. Hit him where it hurt. See the ups, they lurk. See him from a distance. I ain't worried, I'm alert. Catch him in my vision. I'ma aim above the shirt. What you doing? I'm trying to beat it. Take a lot, but it's gonna work.
Sorry, 12.75, total points of 140 there. That is amazing there for the average placement. That's what you want to see coming into this last round, right, Panda?
It definitely is, and it's all about balancing both placement and eliminations, right? Well, obviously 3 points per elimination is huge, and getting a lot of eliminations is going to be very valuable in this format. Placement is still also important to balance. If you focus way too heavily on one or the other, you're going to find yourself falling behind. And I think that's one of the issues we've seen with teams like Arkham and Epic Whale up until this point, where they just haven't been able to find that clear balance between the two. So for them, for Pars and Rays, that's going to be the focus today, is really finding that balance. And according to that round 3 stats right there, it looks like they have a good game plan going into the day, Kelly.
Oh, yeah. They may not have grabbed any victory royales, but they did grab 3 second-place finishes. So who needs a VR when you're able to make it to the end game that frequently? One final team that we're going to be looking for, and of course, if you're a fan of NA West, you've definitely heard of them. It's Landjock and Punisher, and they're going to be landing southwest of Greasy Grove. Panda, tell me a little bit about this team and where they're landing.
Obviously, the veterans in Landjock and Punisher are going to be an interesting pick here. We actually saw them last finals land in this same area, so this is not a spot they plan to leave anytime soon, and clearly it's working for them. A VR, average placement 14.25, but the average elims is one thing I really want to focus on with this team. They've never been a team that just gets 20 bombs, 15 eliminations, whatever the case may be. They're not those high elim teams, but Clay, I think they have potential to do well here today.
Yeah, they really do. And we've talked about this before, I think all of us extensively, is that they're kind of the old guard of Fortnite, right? They play a slower game. They wait for those placements. And like you said, Kelly, if you get to the end game 4 out of the 6 games and you're getting second, third, first place, if you don't have a lot of elims, it doesn't really matter because you're still getting those points.
So we obviously looked at a few teams here, and we are going to be looking at some off-spawn fights. But for right now, I just want to focus on drop spots around the map. This is the last chance these teams have right now. So, Panda, what POI do you think is undervalued?
Ooh, that's a really good question. It's tough to say. I think, obviously, Quinn landing over there at the Daily Bugle, while he's been landing there contested, he's not had really any kind of off-spawn issues. So I believe even another team could potentially not only take that or take that area around it, but could be successful in that region too. So it'll be interesting to see what they can accomplish. But, man, there is so much stuff to look at, so many other POIs to kind of evaluate here. It's going to be interesting to say the least, Clay.
Yeah, I'm thinking more the Joneses and Sanctuary area. That's kind of one of my favorite spots to drop, and I feel like it's just enough out of the way you don't have to worry about too many players rotating into it. And for me, that's where some of these players could really look to get a good start out of.
Yeah, we actually had Keto and Russo, our third-place team out of round 3, going to be landing uncontested at the Joneses. So maybe some of our teams are going to be paying attention to you, Clay, and looking for that POI because the semifinals are just around the corner, and there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for viable POIs. Speaking of POIs, we're going to be looking at a lot of off-spawn fights, everyone. And the first one that we're going to be looking at is Log Jam Lumberyard. It's going to be Jack here and Chris versus Trashy and EXE. I mean, 2 huge names, Panda.
Yeah, and it's kind of an interesting engagement, right? Obviously, Logjam is not a large POI, to say the least. Obviously, the material is great here, so getting material really quickly, early, could be a huge key to one of these teams being successful here. But again, it's going to be tough, especially for how close these teams played. It's hard to gauge which team is going to have a bigger advantage. When you look at the spread, it's literally the total points off by 1. They both got 1 VR. Their average placement is within 18. I mean, average England's within 4. So literally, it's very tough to call which team might be more successful here. But hey, I'm excited. These 2 teams definitely have potential to be in the top 5 play.
They do, and you know, last week I talked about how I didn't like Log Jam Lumberyard as a POI for fighting early, but that completely dispelled it because it's one of the better ones because you don't really have anywhere to run. It's all open area around it, right? You have that lake that you can swim through, but you don't really have the ability to hide like some of these other POIs. So that's advantageous because you can end that fight super quickly if they do try to disengage. And we all know you don't want to be fighting on spawn for too long.
Well, that actually brings up a good point. And before we talk about our next off-spawn fight, I want to talk to you guys because we've seen huge teams like Arkham Rex and Epic Whale during Chapter 2 have issues because they were uncontested. So, Panda, in this situation where you need to get as many points as possible to be able to even make
on that, and so they just have to come up with something on the fly. And that, for a lot of these players who practice hours upon hours landing at the same POI, the same routine, is very hard to adapt to.
Oh yeah, adaptation is the name of the game. We have seen teams cannibalize each other because they refuse to leave the POI, and then as soon as they leave, they have a much more successful game. I mean, we all know the caddy corner issue that we had last year. No one refused to leave that spot. Another spot that might not be left is going to be our next off-spawn fight. That's going to be in Sleepy Sound. We have Noah Untypical versus Remy and Ryuk.
Yeah, you know, Sleepy Sound, I've seen some teams have some success here. I've also seen teams on regions not have too much success. Scented Cold, a good example of last season where they struggled to make Sleepy Sound their own. So it'll be interesting to see how these NA West pros are able to take advantage of it, but there definitely is some potential from here. I will say, exciting to see Typical Gamer making it to a round 4. He has obviously been around the block quite a few times here, Clay.
He has, and Sleepy is one of those POIs, and I've talked about this a lot throughout different seasons. You can see when a POI is designed for the ability there to naturally be split, right? So one team can land on the top, one team can land on the bottom, and what I think ends up happening with a lot of these teams that do end up landing here is that they try to go for each other when they don't need to at all. They can just disengage and not see each other at all. But concerning right here on this screen, even though Typical Gamer did have a little bit more points there, they had no victory royales, and we know when it comes to this round, you're really going to need to step that placement up.
You might need to be a little worried about Remy there. The highest point game they had was 355, so I know a lot of our teams are going to be looking to them. You know, it's all fun and games here, and obviously a lot of our players and teams take it seriously, so we love it during our media days when we get to have a bit more of a fun, casual interview with them. And so that brings me to our next segment, everyone. We have a game called Don't Say It, NA West.
Today we're going to be playing Don't Say It, and basically what Don't Say It is it's a game where I'm going to be telling you about a weapon or a consumable in the game, and then you're going to have to guess it with how I describe it. Okay, so you can use this to grab loot.
Harpoon.
Yep. It can be used for you and your duo at the same time.
Campfire.
And you heal with it.
Campfire.
No.
Slurp or splashes.
No.
Med mist.
No. It generates shield. It zaps you.
Stone Surge.
Yeah. They are completely useless, and you get it out of ice coolers.
Small fry.
No.
Thermal fish.
Yeah. It came in this season. You can use it on anything metal. And then if you use it on wood, it catches it on fire.
Repair torch.
Yeah. You get this if you eliminate someone mid-game. They might have it. They get it if you, how do I say this? I don't know how to say that without saying it. It's Victory Crown.
I think you did alright, but like, you could have done better for sure. Okay, old drop spot. Alpaca. Alpaca.
I don't know what that is, bro.
An alpaca. You don't know what an alpaca is?
No.
Your old drop spot.
Oh, the llama drop spot.
Yeah, flying in the air.
Gliding?
Comes down. Free stuff.
Oh, spider.
Yeah. Really bad POI. Near like the big statue. Oh shoot. Fast. It's in pubs.
Grenade launcher?
No, you put stuff in it. You can like put loot in it and then get it like.
Yeah.
Oh, 10.
Yeah. They recently added it this season.
Oh no, this guy rushed me. I didn't see him.
It could be any color. It's a gun.
Gun?
Yeah.
Sniper?
No, it's like it's semi-automatic.
Gosh, this is so hard, bro.
Me to get you to guess these, to be honest.
Yeah, it's pretty much what I expected.
Obvious love.
Thank you, Batman Booga,
great.
and I think you guys did great, honestly. So, you know, no hard feelings about missing some of those words there.
That's right, man.
But guys, it is now time, of course, your favorite part of the show, chat. It's predictions time. We got to talk about who we think is going to be walking out on the top spot, first place spot. And remember, the top
Sniper's
5 teams
Damn.
from today are going to automatically
Sniper's
move
that.
forward
Crazy.
into the finals. But we're not looking for top 5. We're looking for that first place spot. And
My
I went to
sniper was
Defiable
hitting
and Quinn They had a great performance during round 3.
My
They
pick
got
was
4th
20th.
place. They may not have grabbed any VRs, but they grabbed 12th place average placement there. And most of that was due to the fact that they had a ton of top 5 finishes. So I know you guys are talking a lot about heavy eliminations, but we've seen it over the last week in the, during qualifiers 1 and 2, that a lot of it came down to how well they were able to make it into the end game and how well they were able to place. But Panda, going with my pick from last week, I see.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at the spread, right? I was looking at the teams that qualified, and I was very close to picking Midi and Kaboo. But then I thought, you know what? This team has continually performed better and better throughout the qualifiers, and they're actually a newly forming team. They've only been together a few weeks here now. And so I had the confidence going into this saying, you know what? Crichton, Thoric, this is going to be the team to walk away on top. But Clay, picking Midi and Kaboo, honestly, a good choice as well.
You know, it wasn't just because they came first overall. It's just the history of Midi. He's been getting better, right? And Kaboo just seems like a player that fits him well and fits their play style perfectly. And so when I saw that they got that first overall in round 3, I was like, I have to pick them. Jacob and Takada also picked. I think this is the first time we've all picked different picks, by the way.
Right.
But Jacob and Takada, Jacob going with Epic Whale and Arkram. He is going with them, and you know, hey, he's got to redeem himself eventually, right?
Can I just say, he's picked in Qualifier 1 and Qualifier 2, and I don't think we've ever seen Arkram and Epic Whale perform this way, to say it nicely. But listen, Takada's pick, a very solid pick. Doritos, Kytrix, this is a team that definitely has some notoriety here in NA West and definitely has some potential to climb up. So all great picks across the board. Jacob, hopefully that curse is broken today here. But Kelly, I think this is it. I think it's time for game 1.
I agree. I would love to hear it from Takada and Jacob, what they think of their predictions and, of course, what they think about game number 1, which is going to start real soon.
Thank you so much, Kelly, Panda, and Clay. And the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And after today, I'm hoping I'm not going to be insane. Hopefully the curse is going to be broken. Arkram, Epic, well, please do me some justice.
I mean, Jacob, I was thinking about it. I was going to support you on your pick, help you out, go Arkram Epic, but I did that last qualifier, and, you know, we're not going to talk about it, all right? So we've all got our each individual picks. I'm feeling happy. I'm feeling confident. I mean, Jacob, we're going to be getting into game 1 here. This is the last chance to qualify, right? This is the 3rd qualifier, so you really have to make it count.
Yeah, like you said, last chance, last moments for those to get the top 5 and the series points as well. Luckily for everybody at home, we don't have to wait long because, like Takada said, game 1 starts right now.
One last shot to make it happen. The first match of the day here. 6 total games. This is where the players got to show their dominance, show their opponents what their plan is, how they're going to drop. And on the screen, we have a familiar face here, Jacob. Typical gamer. Noah plays. We also have Vanillas and Fluffy Dolphin, which is Wavy Jacob. So, I mean, I'm excited.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Wavy Jacob in general. Vanillas, and he parted ways with Wale, but they were kind of on the come up. And honestly, though, you can't blame them for splitting ways, but they are on the outside of the series point bubble. So even though they don't get top 5 here, they still need to have a fantastic day.
Typical gamer getting a combat SMG to start it off here. Gonna see if he can just farm up those materials. But my kind of question is, do you think they're gonna play aggressive, right? Are they just gonna loot up, get their match, keep it going, or are they gonna go for that storm surge, right? You saw how powerful it was in the last qualifier. So it's very important to do as much damage as they can here.
Yeah, they got to be careful, though. There's so many other teams. The team directly landing with them, that's React and Remy, who are honestly having fantastic qualifier process, just unable to really get above that hump as well. But over here, Greasy Grove, the same spot where Re and Rex were uncontested. They qualified by a long shot without very many teams really putting up that fight. But this time around, it is going to be contested. So that loot is going to be split between these two teams, but that's nothing to really scare you away because these contested drops really yield a lot of results. To get you the storm surge, to get you the damage, just like that. Epic peeking through the window, trying to put down the shots, and this is the early game skirmish I was looking for them to have.
Speaking about contested drops, Jacob, Arkram and Epic Whale here in the Coney Crossroads. They're trying to show what they're worth, right? What they can do here, as Arkham and Epic do have the effective HP advantage. You're going to play aggressive here. Going to look for a bit of real estate onto the building here. See if they can knock down one of the opponents, make it a player advantage. But Arkham looking to see if it can connect an angle, looking to see if it can connect the shot, but be careful. Does not want to get caught off guard here.
Yep, you see explosions already happening, trying to twist and turn, toss him upside down as Arkham just peeking through, taking his time. And that's the thing here. I would love for them to have all the patience in the world, but on a contested drop like Coney, you take the fight a little bit too long. So many other teams are going to start disrupting and try to get their own piece of that pie. But Epic, Arkham sticking close together, side by side, making sure nothing goes down. But Epic, well, his HP is going to get dropped. So is Arkham, but both teams are going to get a piece of that. As Arkham's going to get dropped, he's going to get taken down. It's all up to Epic with the game on his back.
Polar Bear, Clue now, feeling happy, having that player advantage here now. All they have to do is take out Epic Whale, and he's not looking too healthy at all. Maybe a total of 40 effective HP. So if Polar Bear and his duo partner here play this right, they should have this elimination. But I mean, they're against Epic Whale, right? He has more than enough experience in these 2-versus-1 situations to come out on top. So let's see if we can make it happen here, Jacob.
Yeah, it's gonna be a real test, but as you can already see, Polar Bear not really getting his shields back up, and you see Scary as well. So it's got to come down to consumables. They just don't have what it takes. So this is gonna be a real situation here, Takada. Do you go ahead and continue playing aggressive, or do you take the little moment, the little victory, and start to rotate on out? This is gonna be a long day, 6 straight games, so kind of throwing it all into one moment right here, I don't think it's going to be the smartest choice, and that's why you're seeing them backing off little by little.
I mean, yeah, you can see they can tell, right? They don't want to take any risks here. They do have that player advantage, but if one of them gets eliminated, right, and it turns into a 1-versus-1, I mean, the nerves go up, the stress goes up, but this is the first game, Jacob. If they can come out on top in game 1, eliminating both Arkham and Epic, I mean, that's going to be a strong push forwards for the upcoming matches.
And this is what our 3 Musketeers on the analyst desk were talking about. Initial fights are great. You get the surge, but once they take too long, you start to see other players creep into the fray and get their own piece. They want to get the surge just as well as Scary and Polar Bear want to get this last elimination onto Epic. And there's a ton of time for Epic to wait around to get Arkham's card later on in the game, but that's only going to matter if they give him that time, because they can sit, they can camp the card and make it hard for Epic to go ahead and get any sort of thing achieved here.
I mean, that's the scary part, right? I mean, Epic, he's up right now, but what is he going to do, right? It's not going to be easy to get out of this situation. He can farm up, he can try and loot what's left in that building, but once he goes outside, once he tries to make a move, I mean, Polar Bear is right on top of him here. And while he's been farming, Polar Bear has been getting shields. His duo Scary has been getting shields as well. I mean, as time goes on, the advantage for this duo just keeps getting higher.
Yeah, Epic right now is just trying to bait somebody down towards his position to where he likely has a lot of the pieces controlled. He's going to be able to weave in and out of the covers, pop some shots as he pleases. And that's why you can see Polar Bear and Scary, I wouldn't say hesitant, but more mindful about what they want to do here and how they want to attack this situation. But timing is definitely of the essence. The stone isn't forcing them out just yet, but it's definitely forcing every other team in the lobby to kind of rotate around and pick a different spot.
I mean, the problem here, just like you were saying, Jacob, the more time they spend waiting, the more, the higher of a possibility it is that another team comes in for that third party and looks to see if they can get a piece of the pie. So, I mean, Scary and Polar Bear, I'm going to be honest, they got to make a decision here, right? I don't think they can wait it out all game. Do they go for the elimination, or do they back out, continue to rotate, and continue farming out?
It does look like for a moment they're going to try to get on out, but there's so much action going all around. I saw Blizzard in the elimination feed, and this is what we missed. You instantly get in the box, and that's the type of fighting that I like. They're hip by hip. It's like they're tying together, going in, making sure that if one of them's going to take damage, it's only a sacrifice for the greater good.
Look at these veterans, though, Jacob. Landshock and
I love it.
Punisher, they've been dropping in the same spot the whole season. I mean, I'm sure they've got almost every situation planned out and even tested throughout these tournaments. Taking a look at 40R, though, and Caden here, dropping quite contested in Tilted Towers, so I'm glad to see they were able to make it out here, and they have a decent amount of loot. What's worrying me, though, is that AR ammo, right?
Yeah.
Got 48 shots, and I mean, if you need to do damage, if you need to get those tags, it's going to be difficult.
Yeah, about 2 clips or so. Something around. You better hope your teammate has something there. As Epic will also trying to loot on up, and it begs me to ask the question, with how much time was used there, not necessarily him, but Scary and Polar Bear around, just making sure that he can't travel too far. I wonder if he even was able to get Arkram's card, because that's big. If he can get the card, it'll follow in tradition of West. 3.3 reboots per game, just under the EU region at 4.3, well above East, 0.67. You can see that East not really keen to teamwork there.
Problem is, the longer Epic waits here, the more difficult it's going to be to get that reboot. So you can even see there's a reboot van close to Epic right now, but there's also 4 duos close to that reboot van. So if he tries to take a shot at it, I mean, it's going to be very difficult to make it a successful one. But we have Cabo here alongside his duo partner, farming up, getting a good position early, which is crucial, especially if you want to get that damage done.
Yeah, I like what they're doing here. Immediately you got Kaboo building the high ground with the brick, and then you got some re-farming going down low. Not too much, because Midi still has to get in his position as well, but it's recycling those resources, re-farming up for later on in the game. They know exactly what they need to do, just right there, Midi, and then as soon as Midi gets what he wants, they're just going to swap positions. Kaboo's going to go down and farm, Midi's going to go for the shots. They just want to set themselves up here with as much Storm Surge damage as possible, so they don't have to worry about it as everybody gets congested closer and closer together.
Taking a look at Landshock and Punisher again. They did have rifts at their drop spot, but what they choose to do is rotate with a vehicle, because that rift will get you that first zone rotation done, right? But next zone, you want to be able to use a vehicle here, but be careful as they're going to come across a duo here. They have to pick their fights correctly, because if they end up getting their vehicle exploded, I mean, that's going to make it a lot more difficult to rotate.
I know before this started, I said Batman Booga is emerging as my favorite player, but before Batman Booga, it was Tavern. It was definitely Tavern, welcoming me into his stream, open arms, teaching me the little ins and outs, the intricacies, along with, you know, Bizzle back in the old days, Demo, if anybody out there still remembers his name, shout out to those guys. But it's Tavern here. Last time, during last season, they qualified in semifinals. They didn't qualify in the qualifiers, and it was in the last game that made their way to the finals. Very, very similar to Fabs and Snacky, to where, yes, you guys don't see them here. They, too, are following in their own history that they played out last season, going towards those semifinals.
Taking a look here at Blue Urine Bolts, though, so far with 0 eliminations, but getting tagged here, trying to do their rotate, but they gotta be careful. Bolts is 1 shot away from getting cracked. He does have the heals, but that does give the opponents kind of a signal to keep shooting, see if they can secure a knockdown. But great use here of the shield keg. Currently in the second zone, 1 minute and 10 seconds left till it starts closing. And I mean, so far, duos, they're going to be getting boxed up, getting the position that they would like. And I mean, if they already have an elimination, then they're going to be feeling good with Storm Surge. But if they don't, they might have to play a little more aggressive or look for a little bit more of that damage. And that might be exactly what Baka and Delta are looking to do.
It almost makes me wonder if that lone player down there on the minimap is that Epic Whale. Did he not get the Arkham reboot just yet? But he's going to get out his own first. You see Baka and Delta from that last qualifier. They, too, were actually getting pretty aggressive. They know how to exchange in these off-spawn battles. Winter, though, and his duo, also one of those teams. But there goes Epic. Well, I tell you, he's actually on the top side near Shifty Shafts. Tavern and Nico unable to get Arkram up. So for him, any points he gets here in this game as a solo are going to be big points. And honestly, even though Arkram is just kind of watching on the sidelines, that is something that would pump me up.
Look, what I'm thinking here is he's right beside that reboot van, Jacob, but the problem is there's a duo close by. If he waits it out and does have Arkham's card, he could try and get the reboot. You can see he hasn't rotated already. It makes me really think that that's his plan. There's only 3 seconds left until zone starts closing. So once this duo leaves, he can get that reboot. The issue is if he even manages to get the reboot, Jacob, I mean, 1 mini, 120 shots left in that med mist, and I don't even want to know how many materials he has. So he's going to go for it. Starting to reboot Arkham. I mean, could this be the comeback, Jacob?
Oh, I saw them. Tavern and his duo, Nico, look back. They know somebody is behind them, but this, like we were talking about, they have to go and move with the zone, so it's not going to be an opportunity just yet for them to look towards their hindsight and try to figure it out, but hopefully that med mist is going to be enough to kind of get these guys enough time to go through the storm, surge shift these shafts, the surrounding locations to get the loot, because you're talking about the loot on just Arkham not looking healthy. Now, I'd say Epic well, but now Arkham's respawning with absolutely nothing.
I mean, we talked about the probability, right, of making a comeback from a reboot, getting the victory royale. It's low, but if a duo is going to do it, it's going to be Arkham and Epic Whale. Taking a look, though, of people who got into a little bit of trouble here. Evol on the bottom right, playing as a solo, only 39 above Storm Surge. Actually playing a bit aggressive here, seeing that he's a solo, but, I mean, you got to get that damage. It's so important, and Evol knows it.
Yep. Even as a solo, you still got to find a way to continue your plan and the reboot. It did go through, like we were talking about, but 66 below the Storm Surge threshold. These guys know their job is not done, but finding some extra bandages, the med mist that we talked about. I think the biggest thing besides the resources is finding some shields, because even though Epic Whale is sitting pretty on 100, you got to think they're going to have to get the surge. They're going to end up in some exchanges of fire.
Taking a look at Landshock too. Duo partner Punisher, 48 above. They've done a bit of damage, but they got to get the rotate in, and Arkham and Epic Whale at the bottom right, they're still trying to make it to zone here, and each second they rotate, their Storm Surge just keeps going more and more below. But I looked at Crypus there that got an insane shot onto Punisher, actually knocking him down, now giving them the player advantage, and they go right in on that elimination, see if they can secure it. But Landshock now looks like he's kind of made a run for it as Punisher got knocked down. Gonna try and recuperate his shield here, but that was a crazy beam from Crypus.
That's what you just gotta watch out. Over peaking sometimes can be disastrous. Still 7 below. Landjock has to figure out how to just get one shot here, but the shield keg is running under him, so he doesn't have to peek. It will out-heal the Storm Surge. For now, he's going to be forced to use the second one. There's so many teams around him, so the potential to get the shots that you need to go above the damage threshold is there. But that's also that double-edged sword, because it's going to alert people to your focus that you are a solo, and it could be very, very disastrous.
And that's exactly what's happening for Arkham and Epic Whale here, as Arkham is actually going to get knocked down. Epic Whale as a solo again, finally getting eliminated there. They had a good run, though. Got the reboot, almost made it to zone, but now eyes are on Landshock. Punisher has been eliminated. We saw that happen. 113 above. Now he's going to try and recuperate that shield and, I mean, make a comeback, right? It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely possible.
Yep. Especially here in this situation, you see Russo, Keto, another one of our kind of top teams coming from that round 3. They finished in third, about 149 points, so they did get that warm-up round 3, figure out what they want to do and how to perfect it. But sitting below the damage threshold, we see it week after week, qualifier after qualifier, as Russo just gets beamed down.
Beam after beam of Keto now. Gonna try and help him out here as Raisin Pars, who came in a top 5 finish in round 3. They're going to try and make something happen here as they're already top 4 on this leaderboard. Looking to up those elimination points, and now Keto, I mean, he's got to make something happen. He's going to have a duo looking back at him in zone. Has to go in, though, as the zone keeps closing. Now 30 HP to work with. Going to see if he can make something happen here. Down to 25. Now makes it to the zone, but it's not going to be enough. It's Raze takes them out there. Raising Pars now feeling good with those extra points they just secured.
Yeah, they've been one of the most consistent duos since me really joining the broadcast. They were almost FNCS champions last season. They got in second place. They were on the run in game number 6 until everything just came crumbling down as Landjock, you saw him lose his teammate Punisher early on, but still faring very, very well, finding a way to try to get inside zone, but hearing everybody behind him cry Historic and just allowing them to go ahead and progress forward. So even though he doesn't have the HP style of consumables, he could still sacrifice some more HP to get a safer spot in the zone, as long as nobody looks back.
I mean, the issue I'm seeing here with Landjock is he only has 18 builds.
Ooh, I didn't even notice that.
His material count is low. He can't use too many to get into zone here. So he's going to try and recycle some of his opponent's builds. Looks like he's going to make one box here up top. But if he gets held here, you can see 5 builds. Now his box gets knocked down. He does too. Landjock and Punisher out of this game. But the next zone has appeared, and I believe it even pulled to this side of the map.
Yeah, and honestly, the Landjock, that was a brave play. I know, like, when it comes to his loadout, his resources, he needed a refresh. It wasn't looking good, but just a box on top of a player, just really make the lobby look at you. That one You need gusto for something like that. I don't think I would ever kind of make a play like that. Source and Wale, they performed very well during that last qualifier. And I was talking about Wale splitting up from Vanillas is something that surprised me, but very respectfully so. They knew, you know, the time is done. They've had their run. They've had their chances. They needed to split up here as Midi and Kaboo. They're split up for just a short moment, but that's Kaboo just trying to get them a sweet spot in towards zone, building it wide, but still under fire through multiple teams in the lobby. They're going to looking like they're trying to hold it down, but it looks like so many players are making them the focus.
Under fire, under pressure, same thing that happened to Landjock, but Kaboo and Midi, they have the materials needed to come out on top in this situation. The problem is, all those materials they just used, those could have been 2 more boxes in the next zone. So now they might have to get a refresh, but I heard that too. I believe someone might have just got rebooted, Jacob.
Wonder who it was. I know that statistic of nobody winning a game after the reboot, I think it ended today during our EU qualifiers. Everybody knows anything EU, West can do better. Like that's just fact. That's set in stone. One of the commandments out there is Cade Knox, 40R Storm. I've seen them towards top of leaderboards in the past, but it's this season right here. It's not necessarily they're struggling. They're just not finding the stride that they would have normally seasons ago, but sitting 89 below the threshold, they're going to have to be proactive to look for the shots they need.
I mean, that's exactly what they're doing, right? Holding angles, looking to see if they can connect those shots as 40R is unable to get a connection here. Now only 35 seconds until the zone closes, so they don't want to start panicking yet, but they definitely need to start doing some damage as Chris here and Jagvir, 150 below as well. Gonna have time to pop those minis, but only 20 seconds left until this Storm Surge starts ticking. I mean, they gotta get a big, maybe shotgun shot off here, or they're gonna make something happen.
Using a lot of their consumables to try to out-heal with 15 players needing to go down. This one is going to be scary. If I were them, I would want for them to look for shots, but also sitting very low towards the low ground. They're going to have to make their way up layer by layer. In the blink of an eye, Nigel goes down. That's going to give them some damage, but it's not going to be enough to go above the threshold. It's also going to make them a focus right now, forced to drop down low. It is going to go at 111 above the threshold, but the siege, the fire from other teams in the lobby have not slowed down.
Amazing job, though, from Chris and Jagvir. The question is, though, are they going to be able to come out on top with all the pressure being applied to them? They got the elimination, they got the damage they needed, but now they've also got the pressure from the lobby. You can see another duo. It's Wale, it's Source. They're right beside them, 1 box away, but is it worth it to go for those eliminations as opposing duos will just keep raining fire onto them?
Oh, you see in the elimination between Crypus and Thoric go down to none other than Polar Bear and Scary, who caused the complete destruction of the early game of Arkham and Epic. So they are on a run very, very early on in the game as well. Only time will tell if they can keep up the consistency that they need, but Evil still as a solo. That's something that you called out very, very early on in the game. With only 2 players needing to go down, this is the few situation where I would say, yeah, go ahead, out-heal it, because it's only a matter of time before those 2 players fall.
I mean, Evo's doing a great job, too. You can see he's refreshed almost all of his materials here. Only issue is he doesn't have any more shields to tank that Storm Surge, right? Only 1 player has to be eliminated, but it could take a while before that player gets eliminated, and that player could even be Evo if he doesn't make something happen here. 142 below, looking for angles, looking for shots, but it's just not able to connect here, Jacob. 1 player has to go down, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
He's just peeking through the walls still, and he's not finding anything. Just 1 more tick is all it's going to take. And he's going to be that last player going down. He stopped there for a moment. Sometimes you know when the battle is going to come to an end, but everybody else still standing strong, waiting for the next zone. I said standing strong, but Kinchi and Salco, maybe not them. Maybe they're going to be looking for a refresh here soon.
I mean, Evo, the battle might have ended for this match, but there's still 5 more games to go after this one. This is just the beginning, and we're going to take a look at Midi here. Kabu seems to have gone down, actually. I mean, we've seen a lot of solos trying to clutch it out here, and maybe Midi could be one of the ones to make it happen here, as we also have Doritos and Kytrex with a semi-high ground here, pulling it to the first, moving. The question is, are they going to try and hold on to it? It looks like they will here. My prediction, Jacob, but I'm feeling pretty good seeing this.
I'm glad you're feeling good about your prediction. I'm still a little worried, scared, but 210 above the damage threshold. I can see why you're feeling good. They're trying to build out, but I don't think they should hold on to it this long. They need to figure out a way to connect, because going and wasting that many resources could be something that you don't want to have happen, as Midi trying to look for the damage, trying to find somebody and catch him off guard, but it's he who gets caught off guard, shot in the side, taken down. Midi back to lobby.
Oh, we have Angel 2 going straight to the low ground. Kytrex and Doritos are going to try and hold on to that high ground as we have Noah and Typical Gamer getting a nice little rotate here on the mid ground, taking shots, getting damage done. But so far, they're doing a great job. Already have 3. Trying to see what he can do here as Pavard and Nico go down. Now I just see Kytrex on the high ground, but Doritos is close by, seeing if they can pick up a little bit of extra eliminations as Noah is actually going to get an elimination here now, moving it up to 3. That's already 2 more eliminations as a solo here as Angel now with 4, looking to see something, see if he can make something happen here. Has secured the low ground, but there are duos still alive as Noah takes another one down. That's 4 eliminations for Noah, and he's still going strong.
Coxie getting taken down. Chris is out. Doritos and Kytrex building, holding on, not taking my advice, and that's what you got to do here as Bolts gets taken down to only 13 HP, trying to battle it out. He's even spreading deep, but he runs out of resources. Back to the lobby he goes. This one's going to come down to a 2v2. Delta and Baka, who are getting fired on from above. Kytrex and Doritos not letting up off the gas here, and that's exactly what they have to do with the high ground, with the amount of heals that we have. Baka, 2 splashes, gets the shot on Kytrex from behind. His teammate gets dropped, and he's going to chase one. He's going to get it. 1v1 Takata. This is coming down to the wire.
Doritos versus Baka. Who's going to be able to take it? Doritos does have that elevation advantage, but Baka, you saw the shot he connected on Kytrex. He could make it happen again as Doritos here trying to find an angle. Baka now only 2 more builds to work with, trying to get a drop down on Doritos as he might be the one that's going to be dropping down here as he has 0 more materials to work with, but gets a nice shot off the Baka. Is it going to be enough? Baka returns the shot. Doritos missing 1, and now Baka is going to be able to finish it off alongside Delta, securing the victory royale for game 1.
That was a massive victory for these guys because they've been in both qualifiers so far. Takata not having the greatest of luck, but game number 1, look at coming out strong, fighting from the low ground and really just pushing it to the limits to take it all. And that's going to boost them.
Swevo, yeah.
One of the only duos on the low ground there in the late game.
Does anybody have a mic? Can you even answer me?
Other solo, they're kind of going into those engagements, but just being able to stay alive.
I'm using a voice changer. I'm not 6.
No, it really was a test really at the end. Kytrex, Doritos taking that high ground.
So your real voice.
Spending every single resource. You see them out at the very end, but that's not going to matter because they still take the game overall, Takata. And that's a huge boost of confidence. You
Show
know
us.
As well as I do, our West Pro for the
I'm 1 years old.
Just amazing.
I mean, we saw it all. I want to give a huge shout out to Noah as well. He clutched it up so much there as a solo. I'm actually curious to see what the best have to say about that. So Kelly, Panda, and Clay, take it away.
Thank you so much, Takata and Jacob. And I truly thought that it was going to be a solo finish there, but it actually came down to the two duos. Of course, we had Kytrex's team on height, and then we had Baka's team low ground. And it went down to Baka's VR there. 7 eliminations, getting him 53 points, but right below them, it's Noah and Typical Gamer. Noah with that incredible solo clutch, going to bring them up to second place. Of course, Bolt and Courier had a great performance as well, going to be sitting in third. And then we have Jartrex and Kytrex, although you guys know him as Dorito, taking that 4th place spot.
Yeah, it's definitely a really solid start to these games here. And this was a really interesting decision here by Kytrex and Doritos, right? They had high ground. They were dominant from pretty much the start of the end game. And then unfortunately, at just some point, they made that decision to attempt to drop down and try to finish it early, and unfortunately, it just didn't work out in their favor, Clay.
Yeah, well, and you see them have to because they didn't get a lot of refreshes up on the high ground. The eliminations that they kept grabbing were too far below, so they ran out of materials really early. Doritos hits an amazing shot there onto Delta, but unfortunately, right here at the very end, you see just missed shotgun shots are not going to be enough. And then I don't think he intended to jump down there and just unfortunately missed up just a tad bit,
So what would you have done differently if you're Dorito in that situation? You see that you're running out of mats. You know that you have to make a play. Clay, what would you do?
I try to stay as high as you can. You got the advantage there. You saw when he fell into the water, it was just a little bit harder to track that player. So when he made that edit on the cone, just try to stay up there instead of jumping down.
So Panda, then, would you say that was kind of an issue with the zone that we had? Obviously, anytime we have a water zone, things tend to get a little slippy.
No, I mean, it definitely is a decision you kind of have to make in those moments. I think utilizing the mantling there, you saw actually Dorito use a ramp there, so meaning that he found material in those final moments. If he had just mantled there and then maybe taken a shot and dropped back, then maybe used the ramp, he could have taken some kind of advantage. But it's tough to call, obviously, knowing what's going through those players' mind there. But that was an incredible way to finish it off, an incredible way to start, too. Second place in a game is not bad, Kelly.
No, and I want to focus a little bit on the solos that we got to see there, because we got to see Angel solo grab 4 eliminations towards the end game. And Clay, obviously, when you're put into a solo situation, things get a little tricky. Are you going to be going for the aggressive, trying to grab as many eliminations before your inevitable downfall? Or are you going to try and be behind, maybe the back of the zone, watching everyone else?
Depends. If it's early game, obviously you got to wait a little bit. If it's mid game, you got to wait a little bit. When you get to that end game, though, go for all the elims that you can, because at the end of it, if you just get another placement point by eliminating someone, that's not just an elim point, that's placement on top of that. And that's where those points start to rack up. If you get 2 elims, that's 2 elim points, or rather 6, plus those 2 placement points. And just take a look at Baka and Delta here, who got that Victory Royale. This is their stats from round number 3. I mean, 2 Victory Royales, their average placement was 24th. So obviously they were going very hyper aggressive, going for those elims. But, I mean, the strategy that they brought into round 4 is paying off for them.
Yeah, it definitely is. This is definitely a different level, or a different side of them that we didn't see in round 3, right? Obviously, the average elims were a little bit lower, and now they're stepping up the plate. They had 7 eliminations, the most eliminations in game number 1. And adding the VR on top of that is just solidifying the top spot on the leaderboard. Now, if they can remain consistent, that's where it's all going to come down to. But looking at the separate POV, you got to love it. Baka able to clean it up there in those moments, and that's why they have claimed the top spot, Kelly, so
Honestly,
far.
the tracking there was so good. Baka knew exactly where his opponent was at all times and played that so well. And I kind of think that speaks to their low ground play. A lot of the times, if you have the advantage, you're going to take height. But then it becomes more about looking at everyone down below you and kind of just trying to take a few shots. If you're on the low ground as a duo, you control the game.
You really do. And taking a look at where some of these players placed, Noah W players and Typical Gamer, who are second place, played the low ground. That's where Noah kept getting those elims, because everyone kept dropping down into his box. And for them to come out second place after game number 1 is really, really great.
It really is. It really is. What a great way to start NA West Qualifier 3. Honestly, I'm super excited to see what happens next. But for teams like Arkham Epic Whale, or even Thoric and co. This is your moment, right? You might not have had the game one that you were looking for, but that's okay. It's time to turn it around, change those game plans up, and make something happen here because it's almost time here to get into game number 2, Kelly.
That's right, Panda. I have to just echo what you said. This is just game number 1. A lot of these teams, a lot of these players are just kind of feeling out how the rest of the competition is because in round 3, there's hundreds of teams competing. Now this is a set lobby. Round 3 tends to be very different than round 4, and that is exactly what we saw right there with big teams like Arkham and Epic Whale going down early. But how are they going to adjust their play style? They do have a contested drop spot, so maybe taking a bit more of a safer approach at the start. We saw them kind of in zone. One went down. They got the revive. So I'm thinking we might be seeing a little bit more of a passive start for them, but we're going to find that out real soon, everyone, because game number 2 is ready to go. So Jacob and Takata, take it away.
Thank you so much, Kelly, Panda, and Clay. I actually want to speak about a little bit about what Panda was saying regarding that the average eliminations were low in that first match. I mean, we saw Burritos and Kytrex. They had height from first moving, but they were playing it a bit safe, right, Jacob? They were actually 4th place on the leaderboard, even though they got 2nd, because they did not want to play too aggressive. They didn't want to go for those eliminations, but it's 3 points per elimination, Jacob. I mean, they're so important.
Yeah, you got to find that perfect balance of getting aggressive, knowing when to play placement, because you could see so many teams go ahead and try to play placement very, very heavy, and they kind of fall out of that top 6 for teams that are not getting the placement. We're getting a high number of eliminations overall, but this is only game number 1, Takata. You know as well as I do, West gets wild as can be, just like game number 2. It's going to get wild really quick.
Game 1 down and heading right into the second match here. The battle bus is just starting to get warmed up, getting ready for these early game engagements. Jacob, in the first game, we saw Arkham and Epic Whale being contested in Coney. We saw Noah and Typical Gamer being contested in Sleepy. The question is, who is going to be able to take these off-spawn engagements in game 2?
Yep, React and Remy towards the top screen. They're going to be one of our teams that did go through qualifier number 1, qualifier number 2, and they're the team that is contesting Typical Gamer and Noah over towards Sleepy Sound. And Clay kind of broke it down. Sleepy Sound almost meant for splitting the loot if you go towards the top half and the bottom, but this is a direct contestation with Typical Gamer losing half his HP off the start.
But I believe the player that actually took shots at Typical Gamer was not the duo that's contesting them. It almost seemed like it came from the left side here, looking at the screen now, so I'm wondering if there's another duo that drops close by and maybe has some angles onto these players here. But Noah and Typical Gamer gonna start off with a little bit lower HP now from those shots, but I'm wondering what happened in the last game, if they ended up taking this engagement in the early game or if they just looted up and played it out later.
Yeah, it almost looks like the team that went north to the lighthouse portion might have been the one to get those shots. And honestly, if React and Remy might have known he was half HP, they could have got aggressive right off the start. 2 Stinger SMGs, minis, big pods. That's a recipe for success. That's a recipe to take advantage right off of the initial. But what you don't know, you can't really react off of it, so they're going to have to continue their path as Etso and Busy over on this side, trying to get that early surge damage on their opponents who are looking to try to have a little bit of a safer game. They're playing placement as can be.
It's so busy. 2 players from Mexico competing together. Excited to see what they can do here. Currently in the 15th place spot, but I saw them in that late game. They did secure an elimination, but they're going to look to do a bit more here in this next one as we switch over to Rocky Reels. We have Blizzard here and his duo. Meanwhile, Arkham and Epic, they're getting into that Coney Crossroads engagement again. And you can see that with 0 points, they want to make something happen here in this game too.
Yeah, immediately taking high ground, but Winner and Blizzard, they won this fight last time, but it was Blizzard in a 1v2 situation, I do believe, or at least he got both of the eliminations. He's trying to make it happen again. Takes out King of Kings. His partner gets dropped, so he's going to have to drop down low, not only to finish off that battle, but get that reboot card. And he has to get it quick because look at King of Kings is only down. The revive is going to happen sooner rather than later.
Blizzard here going up above, trying to see what he can do here as Beast might just be able to get his partner up here. I mean, he's already been picking him up for a while now. I believe he might actually get it off, and he does now. Blizzard just put himself into a 2 versus 1 situation. He does have that effective HP advantage, but for how long as he actually gets cracked here now? Only 86 HP to work with. Gonna be able to pop some minis, but there's another duo taking shots now. Blizzard with zero materials is not in a spot I'd like to be in, and there it is, getting knocked out in this early game.
I think they're about 1-1. Game 1, like I said, Blizzard getting both of the eliminations. Game 2, it looks like Beast is going to get both of the eliminations, but help at the perfect time. And I call it help, using the word very, very loosely. It was just another team trying to take part and get some of that damage from the Storm Surge. But Epic Whale building high as possibly can be. This is what we've seen them do. Day number 2 of last season's FNCS Finals against Victor V and Blizzard. Once they started losing it on day number 1, they were building up. They were getting more aggressive, but once you build up, you really make yourself a target. It's like a shining light from the lighthouse on the other side of the map saying, hey, look at me, look at me.
And the more time you wait, Jacob, the more teams are going to be close by. And that's what Epic and Arkham know as they start to disengage a little bit here. I wonder if they're going to fully disengage, though, or if they're going to try and kind of wait it out, see if they can take out their opponents here that have been contesting them. The problem is, though, you can see at the bottom right on the mini-map, the zone hasn't closed in the Coney Crossroads, but it's pretty close. So if they decide to do a little bit of a late rotate, it won't be the end of the world, but they want to farm up. They want to get to mid-zone. They want to make something happen here as we're taking a replay here. Looking at Noah and Typical Gamer. What did they do?
It doesn't even look like Noah was able to recover off of that initial drop, but maybe it's just an extended fight with Typical Gamer trying to be the hero. Remy and React, they were the ones safely kind of looting up off of that initial drop. They were the ones farming around, and they're going to be the ones to get the early 2 eliminations. That's 6 points to start their game.
Taking a look at Delta and Baka. I mean, we saw what they did in the last game, Jacob, clutching up that victory royale. It was nerve-wracking. I mean, the back-to-back Ritos and Baka had just really had me at the edge of my seat. But the question is, are they going to be able to keep that up, right? Maintain that consistency. That was game 1. There's 6 total games, 5 to go, including this one. So see if they can keep it up as Baltz here and Kruya are going to be heading over to the Daily Bugle, who are actually Defiable and Quindrop, our first place duo from round 3.
But this is the thing that we were even talking about. Daily Bugle, especially through the first 3, maybe even 4 games, even though it is a contested drop, they kind of split the loot, they play safe, and they go their separate ways. So Kruor and his teammate a little bit late to the party, but as long as they stay on the path, I do believe they're going to be able to get the shots they need, as long as they don't fall too far behind the zone. Evo won an on one. Evo, honestly, he lost his teammate very, very early on, and On1 is really looking to have a much better performance in this game, because once you see your teammate perform so well as a solo, that's a different style of boost of confidence. Like, oh, hey, we can really do this. I just need to play a little bit better.
I mean, 100%. You know, Evil, too. He's feeling good about what he did last game as a solo, so now that he has his duo partner, it just bumps up that confidence, right? And I'm sure they can make something happen here as we're looking at Wolfpack, though, and Paolo, who have built up in the Greasy Grove, trying to see if they can get some tags probably on the opposing duos that might be rotating through here, as they do have 0 eliminations. What I'm wondering is if they took shots on the duo, which is kind of contesting them, but Paolo's actually going to get cracked here from a third-party duo. I mean, that's not something you'd like to see.
Nah, because they're just consumables, I should say, whether if it's the shields or the HP, are looking a little thin, probably going down low, picking up some extra of what is on the ground. And honestly, they're looking for anything at this point. There's a few open slots as Bolts and Kruyor picking up the scraps of the Daily Bugle before making their way out. And honestly, it makes me wonder if they know another team's on their side, because that's damage they were looking for is back on board. Arkham and Epic Whale still over towards Coney Crossroads, but the thing is, there's way more teams than there was moments ago.
Epic Whale here has that elevation, has that positional advantage, but is it really a positional advantage when you have duos rotating close by that can see you? But Epic Whale, he's not scared of that. He's the one you want to be scared of, as he's taking shots at these duos that are close by. Now dropping down a bit lower. I feel like they really want to get these eliminations, Jacob, from the last game and what happened. I mean, they really want to bring that right back and see if they can eliminate them.
Could be a great start, a momentum style of fight to where you win this one, it starts to build your confidence, it starts to build your thought process here. It is a such prolonged fight. You see more and more people in your mini-map trying to take the shots, trying to get their own surge damage so they don't have to worry about it later in the game. And I'm trying to count like 2 duos directly there, a third one on the outside, 4, 5, 6 possible duos with a 7th maybe solo player, and B-Dog's gonna get dropped. He wasn't even the original player there, and that's what happens when you overstep your boundaries.
Epic Whale gonna see if he can come out on top here as B-Dog did go down. So now they have that player advantage. But Jacob, just like we're saying, even if he gets this other elimination, there'll be another duo right beside them, and they might come into that action. But it looks like Epic Whale has this one down. He's already cracked his opponent here, looking to see if he can still continue the push and get that elimination. And he's just 1 inch away from securing it. Puts himself in the zone, but shouldn't be an issue as it's close by.
B-Dog here is probably just wondering what happened. They were the ones sneaking in, and now they're the ones going down because the players that Arkham and Epic were originally fighting used that as their own escape route. Let's get out of there. Now they have much more. Epic Well already had almost max mats moments before, and now with 2 more eliminations, that's going to get them even more. As Delta, Baka, great spot here towards the high ground, but they're not in zone, so they're going to have to start to rotate towards Greasy and pick another high ground spot to get their damage.
I was actually wondering, I was seeing Delta and Baka, and I'm like, why are they built in wood, right? But they're not even in the zone, so it's kind of like a temporary base, right? If you know you're not going to be there for a long time, you don't have to use those hard materials, that brick or metal. You can just build a quick wood base, you know, wait it out, see where zone closes, and then make your rotate. But speaking about long early game engagements, from the Coney Crossroads to Greasy, here we have On1 and Evol, who really want these eliminations here. Looking to see if they can pick one up.
Yeah, I like the idea to go for that piece control early, using the splash instead of the big pot, because your teammate did need some shields as well. And you know as well as I do, we've seen it a lot last season. We've seen it through the first 2 qualifiers. All they're looking for is a moment of separation, which is there. Paulo and Wolfpack, if they can go ahead, or say Evo and Almo can go ahead and just progress onto one player, just try to get in the box with those Stinger SMGs or whatever you have on you, they could find themselves in a 1v2 situation, and then the timing is definitely on their side.
That might be just what On1's gonna do here. You can see he's got the edit ready. He's waiting for that wall to be open, for an edit to be made, and it looks like he might get right into the action if that ends up happening. I feel like Evol here might be trying to bait it out, right? Get Wolfpack to open up that wall that On1's waiting on, and then jump right into the box and see if he can get that elimination. But so far, Wolfpack, he's standing his ground, Jacob. He's not opening edits. He's just holding it down and waiting it out.
Yeah, that's what you got to do, though. When you know your situation, you know you don't need the damage, you know your teammate and you are separated, you just have to play as close to the game plan. Leaving the cone right now, this is their chance to reunite, but it's also the chance to get caught off guard if Evo and On1 kind of combine together and use their force. But the high ground right now, Paulo and Wolfpack, that's going to be their only advantage in this fight.
Actually, one of the opponents here got cracked. It just shows, you can even see in the bottom right how many duos are close by here. It's a very dangerous place to be getting into an engagement, but Stormchairs disappeared. I mean, they're going to see if they're above or below. Currently 122 above, so they're feeling good, but they'd feel a lot better if they secured these eliminations. Evol here, still trying to apply pressure, still trying to look for a shot. But I mean, the good thing is, Jacob, they are in the zone, so they technically don't have to rotate yet.
Yeah, but I don't think they can stop being proactive and doing what they're doing here. 165 below the Storm Surge threshold. That is so much cause for concern, especially when it's 17 players that need to go down. That's not something you're going to out-heal with 3 big pots and a mini. Honestly, it's not something I think you should out-heal. You need to figure out a way to get the shots, and oh my gosh, Evo finds every shot under the sun, but he's still below the damage threshold.
182 below, gets dropped quickly to 74 below. Now, you can just hit one shot from this striker pump shotgun. It could be huge, as zone is going to close in 55 seconds. So he's got a bit of time to make something happen, but the Storm Surge just keeps getting higher and higher. Now 116 below as we look at Epic Whale has got himself into another engagement here, and they're going to go down early.
It wasn't my fault. Come on, give me more credit. There's still 4 more games left. We can all do this, boys. As Evo1 is doing it big right there with the help, and that's what happens. Paulo and Wolfpack, they never got together hip to hip, but more duos are trying to insert themselves into the fray. They're forced to play defensive and try to back out of this one because they're still in zone, though, Takata. As long as they play calm, cool, collected, they're good, but I honestly want to see them try to get the ammo that they need. You see, Evo has no more light SMG ammo, 98 medium, 13 shotties, so even though they don't necessarily need a ton, they need the refresh.
Ooh, and Wolfpack is actually going to get taken down by Victor V here. So they did get Paolo, but that's only one elimination. 27 above, and Evol almost getting knocked down here, but On1 gets a nice trade. Big shot onto Jaden X there. So they're going to keep kind of trading shots, doing the damage they need to do. I mean, that striker pump shot was big, put them 130 above, but Victor V and Jaden, they're not much above. They're only 17, so they're going to try and get into the action, trying to get a shot onto their opponents here, as we also have Kruger on the right side, seeing if they can clean up this engagement.
Yep, see K-Knox going down. You got, I think it was Pars or Raze at least getting a knock onto somebody. Damage towards the backside. Kruger needed the refresh, but he's going to get knocked. Storm damage is going to be a little bit too much. Bolt's now under siege as well. It's ticking for 2, so timing is definitely not his side. He's just going to try to beeline into zone, and that's going to be his only hope for survival here, with shots coming in. His shield's getting dropped. Timing is there. 13 HP. Is he going to be able to make it out? Oh my gosh, I do believe he is going to have one chance. 1 HP and a dream.
Can he make it happen, Jacob? He's made it into zone. He has 271 damage above the Storm Surge threshold, but what he doesn't have, Jacob, is health. 1 HP, making it out of zone. And I believe the duo, I mean, they saw him barely make it in. They were taking shots, so the question is, are they going to hold him, right? You can see how many duos are surrounding him on the mini-map. I mean, he's got to rotate in 5 seconds, Jacob. I don't know how he's going to do it.
Well, that goes my question I was going to ask you. How is he going to rotate out of this mess? Honestly, because I wouldn't know myself. But step number 1 would be to get as many resources as possible, especially when you only have 46 to your name, as it looks like he's going to try to out-heal it on the right side. I love you, Wolf. How do you do it? Shield Keg's going to go down. Medkit's going to be popped. He did get his teammate up, who's also utilizing those same heals.
I'm loving the confidence from Bolts, too. I mean, he's a solo, but he's wall replacing. He's looking for shots, looking maybe even for a knockdown here. I think he wants to make these opponents rotate earlier so he can recycle their builds. But the problem is there's another duo behind him. So even if he recycles these builds from Quinn and Defiable, the other duo might just get a piece of the action. So he's really got to make a rotate happen here. It looks like he does want to kind of get a little bit close there to Quinn and Defiable, as he could save a lot of materials, but it's so dangerous that he's not really sure what play he wants to make. You can see he's still got a good amount of distance too before he makes it to the zone here, and just so much is going on from people launch padding, people rotating, people even in engagements here that there's not really anybody looking at Bolts.
Yeah, it almost seems like with a decision, he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, and it's just working out. You go too far in the open, you become a focus of the lobby, you get too close to other teams, they want to fight you, but Bolts making the perfect play, sitting towards the edge of zone with that 1 HP and the dream we were talking about below. But that game number 1 victors, they had as many elims in game number 1 as they did in all 6 games during qualifier 2. That is a huge adaptation for these guys and a huge boost of confidence. Once you have that early game, you can go ahead and do wonders, but it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and this is only game number 2.
I mean, what better way to have a game like that than the first match, right? That just sets you up for the rest of the tournament. Doing more elims in the first game that you did on all of Qual 2, I mean, they must be feeling happy, just like you were saying. But another team that might be feeling a bit happy here is Scary and Polar Bear. Their loot is looking pretty strong. They're not in the zone, but I'm sure they can get a pretty easy rotate here. They're close by. The issue is a majority of the duos are also close by, and they're going to be rotating, so it can get dangerous very quickly. As you can see, the amount of names here on this side of the zone. You have Busy Etso above them as well. I even see Kytrex and his duo Jartrex, also known as Doritos. So see who can kind of come out on top here in this rotate.
And you guys read that right at the top of your screen. It might be a little bit my fault, just a little bit, but Polar Bear and Scary Clue 2-0 against Arkham and Epic off spawn, whether it was the quick one in game 1 or the one that took all day in game 2. But at the end of the day, that's a boost of confidence, taking out former FNCS champions who you got to take advantage of at any moment that you can. Defiable Quinn trying to make their way in towards zone. Quinn with the 2 eliminations. They don't have to worry about Surge right now, as it looks like they're going to find a great amount of resources on the ground, some heals that they could utilize later on in the game. And when it comes to their wood, they're looking thin, but everything else looking cool as can be, as Quinn ends up in a little skirmish. He's going to back down that one, as Quinn is a player that we know him not to get too aggressive unless he has to.
Nigel and Angel, though, 43 below. They don't got to sweat it too much. They've got 45 seconds. They've got the time. The issue is there's quite a lot of trees here kind of blocking their LOS, their line of sight. So they've really got to find a duo that's rotating, see if they can get some tags, as we have Crimson here and Jeffers getting some tags onto Ed So Busy, making the damage happen, but will it be enough? 35 above Meanwhile, we have Wolf here on the right side, 260 below. And Crimson actually getting cracked alongside his duo partner. Might get knocked down here, 7 HP to work with. Has to hold his builds, hold his ground as pressure is being applied left and right. And there it is, they go down. Polar Bear gonna get that elimination alongside Scary.
Yep, from 6th place before those elims, bumping themselves up to 4th, skipping 5th all the way as they get that refresh, and they're continuing on, building that confidence and inserting themselves as one of the top teams here in the qualifier. As Polar Bear, he's gonna get stopped short and trying to use that big pot, minis all around as well, but players are gonna try to get into that box with Storm Surge being active, especially Wolf on the right side, 273 below, only in mid-best. You have to start getting proactive.
6 players have to be eliminated here. 5 now for the Storm Surge to no longer be active. I mean, the number's going down quick, but the question is it going to reach 50 in time for Wolf here as he has the med mist? He's using it as much as he can here. 287 below. It looks like he's just given up on getting damage done, and he's going to try and out-heal it.
Very, very risky move, but it's something we saw them try to do, and he lost Dippy along the way during the last Storm Surge that hit in the same exact game, which is why you see him out of those consumables and about to run out of the med mist as well. Time has come. You have to start getting proactive, but with only one more player to go down, you have achieved it. But now what do you do with nothing left to your name?
Looks like he's trying to see if he should recycle a launch pad, but he already lost a good amount of HP, so he's not going to do that. Looking over at Merc, though. Trying to see if he can do a low ground rotate here with his duo partner. I always say, in this zone, a majority of players are going to be using a launch pad, so if you can go full low ground, you might just be able to do it without losing too much shield.
Yep. Just like one of those teams I mentioned, they too, Compalomp and Siri, they're outside of the series point bubble. They need a big day today to gather as many series points as they can. So no matter if they get in the top 5 or not, they advance towards the semifinals to try to claim themselves a top spot. As Zuko, Remy picking up some eliminations. Wolf finally does go down. Kaboo picking up 2 as well as he takes out Zuko in digital. Chris takes out Remy. The elimination feed is just lighting up right now.
Delta and Baka, they're playing it slow. I'm surprised how stable they've been in this game too, right? They won the first match and they haven't done anything too risky, right? They're playing calm, collected, getting the rotates done, only getting aggressive when they have to. And now they're already in the first moving. They have a launch pad still. They have material still. They have shield. They have everything they need to get a big game too.
Delta Baka still gonna have to make their way towards zone. It looks like they got a pretty far pull. Some of the other duos might be a little bit luckier in that mix, but Crypus and Thor are going to have to go through them. Baka, Delta, peeking through the cone, and that's what I always like to see. Getting the information as early as possible so you know how to rotate. Punisher, Landjock, not wanting to go through all that mess. Using an early launch pad. Drew and Josh following suit, using and recycling that same launch pad.
Compalomp here trying to see if they can do another low ground rotate, but they're only 5 above. Gonna have to do a bit of damage here as the opposing duos are gonna be taking shots as well. Find a nice path though. We have Siri here, looking for the angles, looking for the rotates, and so far doing a great job.
Ooh, you blink, you might have missed it. Compalomp gets caught off guard. Siri now has to have a big game here as a solo. Pick up as many of those points as possible here. Sitting in 5th place, you have to be able to hold on to that one. And with no hills to your name, possibly looking for a gift. Car's gonna be sided. That's Pars, that's Raze. He's gonna hop in. He's gonna better pay for that Uber.
Oh, look at the high ground too, though. We have multiple players, multiple duos looking to see if they can take it. Landjock was looking for it at one point, but Siri finally getting knocked down here now. Looks like Psy-Razor and his duo partner have the high ground. Landjock Punisher on second height. Question is, though, are they going to be able to hold it for the rest of this match?
Psy-Razor, another big one. They've been in all of the qualifiers so far up until this point. It's finding the consistency you need because we've seen big moments just like Baka and Delta in game number 1. Looking to kind of replicate that here. Already 60 plus points and counting. Kaboo's going to have to do it by himself. Mini got set back to the lobby already. Nevitz goes down. Crypus is going to go down as well. SMG and Psy-Razor still holding on to the high ground for a moment, but they're going to drop down low. So the high ground's going to go to Kimchi and Salco.
We've got so much action too happening on the low ground there. It's so busy. Pars, Raze, they're going at it here as Raze knocks down Busy, but now Kaboo, 2 eliminations. Looking to see if he can make this rotation happen. Does have over 90 builds, but he can't get knocked down without using all of these materials. He still has such an opportunity to clutch it up as a soloist. Delta and Baka looking to see if they can make it happen here again for the round 2.
Can they go back-to-back? If they go back-to-back, I'm putting on the cover of Lethal Weapon right here, right now. But there's so many top teams here looking to end their run, and one of them's going to be on the high ground, Wale and Source. I've seen them perform well in that last qualifier in certain games, but Kaboo under siege. He's going to back out. He got the damage he wants, the look that he sees, but it's going to come to an end there as he's going to be forced to rotate out.
Delta, Baka keeping calm, doing exactly what they have to do to get to this late game. 13 duos left as Wavy Jacob turns around, looks to get the shots onto Punisher, but isn't able to connect enough as Vanilla's here with 1 elimination. Has a great angle onto Pars, but Raze wants to get him down, get him eliminated, and he does. Raze and Pars are still up, and they're still going.
Poyo getting that one. Poyo performing so well in Qualifier 1 in multiple games as a solo. He's going to have to do it here again. 2 eliminations as a solo, 4 as a team, but that run comes to an end as they get in the box. Wale Source still raining fire down from the high ground. SMG is going to get dropped, but his teammate is still in as a solo as well. 6 teams remain.
Delta and Baka get a nice little bit of piece control onto their opponent there, but unable to get that elimination as Pars finally takes down 1 here. Psyrazor gonna play the med miss, play the zone. Zuki's though still up with his duo partner Bacon. There's 5 duos up, 9 players. I mean, this is anybody's game right now. Wale has the high ground. Delta and Baka here. We saw what they did game 1. Let's see if they can make it happen again in game 2.
Low ground, they have so many mats as well. Might be wood, but hey, something is better than nothing as they're traveling through, trying to stay ahead of it all. The pieces are trying to become theirs, but that's Delta, I believe, and Baka right above them, trying to claim it as their own. Wale and Source back on towards the high ground, jumping up from 12th to 11th. Not finding the eliminations, but the pressure they're putting down is insurmountable.
Suki's here and Bacon trying to get through the whole builds, right? Don't want to get trapped in the storm like Cyrase almost was there, but he is one of the only, if not the only solos up right now. Also out of materials, trying to see what he can scavenge here from the trees, from the rocks. Keep it going. Now Pars is up as a solo as Race has been knocked down, has been fully eliminated. Cyrazer here gets a huge shot onto Pars, taking him down now. 2 eliminations to his name. See if he can make it 3 here as another duo boxes them up. Will he be able to take them out though as he goes up? Tries to disengage from that engagement, but there's another duo on high ground.
They just will not let him escape. They're just shooting into the covers, dropping him down, but he found his moment to breathe. 5 builds, but the breathing comes to an end. Wale drops down low, gonna take him out. 3 duos remain, full duos at that, but Delta, he's getting chopped down, but he's gonna be able to take down Bacon. 1v1 versus a full duo. Baka with the med miss. He's gonna try to out-heal it towards the backside, and the only duo remains is gonna be Wale and Source, and they pick up the victory royale.
Wale and Source playing that high ground. Took it perfectly, not taking it too early, but doing it just when you need to secure that victory royale. But also huge props to Baka and Delta from winning the first game to now getting 2nd place in game 2. That's what I call consistency.
Yeah, that is some wonderful gameplay. And Bacon and Zooks, they got in this spot not only because of the 6 eliminations as a team, but they were the ones firing on that Coney Crossroads fight that we're talking about in the early game, getting themselves to surge so they can pick that perfect spot at the end of the day. And honestly, if you're Wale and you split up from Vanilla as a player that you've been teaming with for so long, you have to feel on top of the world, realizing, hey, I can make magic happen no matter who's sitting next to me.
I mean, that just shows how important it is to be healthy through the early and mid game, right? Get the damage you need to get, and also get the materials and loot you need, because if you get into that end game and you're not prepared, you're gonna have to go for refreshes and you might get eliminated a bit too early.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a real surprise to see who's on the leaderboard. Big game from Baka and Delta yet again, even without the victory royale. There's only Takata that can break it down and let us know where everybody stands. It's the desk.
Thank you so much, Jacob and Takata. And you guys had it there. Baka, a great performance there. We know that consistency is key. So, you know, with that VR and then, of course, this end-game finish, his team is going to be at the top of our leaderboard right now. But, of course, we have to talk about how they even made it that far, Panda.
Yeah, we absolutely do. I mean, look, they've done a very good job of being patient, methodical, and getting the damage where they need to early and mid game, and then in the end game, they just show up and show out. And this is just a perfect example of that. Now, Delta did get knocked here, but Baka ended up holding on, and that's why they've held on to the top spot and now have a pretty large lead over the second place team, Clay.
Yeah, I want to look at second, third, and fourth, though. Look at those deltas right there. Up 11, up 12, up 29 places there from Wale and Source. That is what we're talking about when we say, hey, it's only the first game. Still play well, still play the game. You want to play just because you had a bad start doesn't mean anything, because look at that.
Ooh, Source and Wale climbing all the way up into fourth place now with 52 points. And you know it is because of that height take. They didn't grab it at zone 6. They didn't take it at zone 7. No, they held it at zone 8, which honestly might seem a little late, Panda, but that is why they got the win.
It is. And look, high ground is a vital part of this game. If you're not understanding when to take it, how to take it, and how to utilize it, you're definitely going to fall behind, especially in a meta like this. And that's why we see Wale, Source just dominating from the high ground. They're doing a really good job of controlling the pace down low, which is leading to eliminations and additional placement points for them, and now leading them to start climbing this leaderboard. Again, like Clay mentioned, it's not about necessarily how you start, it's about how you finish. And that's what we see from some of these teams shifting here on the leaderboard. Another team I got to talk about, it's my pick, my prediction is Krypus. They are now in 10th place. They jumped up a significant amount there to climb into that 10th place spot. But now looking at the second page of the leaderboard, so many other names we have to pay close attention to. Bolts, Crewyor, you got Jagveer and Chris, you have Midi and Kaboo, all incredibly talented names here, Clay. Still not quite in the top 10.
Hey, but look how close it is, right? This is an 8-point spread on the second page, so it's still really anybody's game right there. As you saw Midi and Kaboo at the bottom in 20th place right now, that's fine. They're still within, it's 48 points. We saw them at 30-something, so that's a victory royale, and then they're into the top 5. So they are chilling big time there. And I want to point out a great play from Source and Wale that not a lot of people talked about is they left Source on the high ground. He had 2 med miss in his inventory. They secured the heal off while they made sure Wale got the Elam points because they want that first place. And going for heal off, you got to make sure you get that final Elam.
You know, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see Midi right there. They had a great end game, although it was Kaboo as a solo for quite a while. I'm surprised to not see him in our top 10.
Yeah, I am as well, but hey, you know, we'll get to see it right now. Look at them get they got 2 refreshers, they got the Elams, but from there it was pretty much a car, right? They used it pretty well, and then as you see, not so well. Luckily they were able to get back in it and they didn't have to worry about that much coming through, but unfortunately they did get caught with an edit there, and that's where Midi ended up going down. And really in these moments, having Midi to lead Kaboo is really where you wanted to be, because as you see, Kaboo did get eliminated by going for a layer change that definitely should have planned to drop down on, so it's okay. They still got this. They got 4 more games. I'm excited. They're warming up a little bit there. You know, they got time.
And Panda, just real quick, Pars and Raze also had a great performance in that game right there. And I feel like this qualifier especially, we're seeing them kind of shine and stand out.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. Another consistent top 5 performing team, right, throughout the years of NA West performances. So this is another team we're going to have to pay close attention to as we get ready for the next game. But Kelly, I believe it's almost time.
That is right, everyone. 2 games down, 4 more to go here for NA West, everyone. This is the final qualifier. The last opportunity for these teams to either take that top 5 spot or to get those much needed series points. With that being said, everyone, let's hop on over to our casters for game number 3.
Thank you guys so much for breaking it down. And one of the biggest things that I've heard them talk about, Takada, is many teams being consistent after 2 games. But it is a marathon and not a race. There's 6 games, 4 more to go. How long can they hold on to that consistency?
I mean, just like you're saying, you can get those first 2 games down, but I mean, you can even clutch it up in 2 games at the end, right? So it's all about that consistency. Early game, mid game, late game, they're all crucial to that final score. Can you get enough Storm Surge in the early game? Can you get enough materials in the mid game? And will you be able to make it to those last moving zones in the late game, Jacob? It's all question to how these duos perform, how these duos adapt and change their playstyle based on their mistakes in the previous matches. And I'm curious to see if we see some of that happen.
Nah, I'm definitely going to be very, very curious to see which duo remains to be consistent. And we don't have to wait long, because game number 3 starts right now.
2 games down, heading on to the third, almost halfway through this last qualifier, Jacob. This is qualifier 3. This is the last chance some duos might have to make it to the semis or make it straight to the finals. The question is, which will be those duos, Jacob, who will take that golden ticket, go straight to those finals? As Arkham Epic Whale, they're going right back to the Coney Crossroads, and they're still contested.
Yeah, just like me, we go again. I'm basically the third on their trio at this point. The way I'm kind of rooting for them, and half of it is for them. I want to see them perform well. They're historically some of the best players in West, but at this point, it's for myself. But he finds the auto shotgun. The damage is going to be there, but not a lot to kind of work off of, or at least not a lot for now. Great striker burst, getting the resources up as they're going to split Coney Crossroads, or at least for now.
Scary clue here. Polar Bear, they already know their route. They know their buildings. They know what they've got to loot and how they have to loot it. We've had some interesting engagements here. I mean, neither duo has been able to finish off a fight very quickly. I mean, in game 1, they were able to eliminate Arkham off the bat, but Epic Whale stayed up through the whole early game engagement. But switching over to Daily Bugle as we have Notorious here and Coxie, who are going against Defiable and Quinn, and looks like so far it's going quite well for Quinn here as they pick up an elimination, giving them the player advantage. Now it's a 2 versus 1 against Notorious.
I absolutely love the idea to get aggressive very, very early, because you don't usually see this from a Quinn-led team until games 4, 5, or 6, depending on where they're at in the leaderboard. But he doesn't want to put himself in the hole. They said, right now we're in 16. That's not good for my liking, as they're trying to hunt down the very next player who's left as a solo. The piece control does go over. The edit is in, and the player is back to lobby. That's Notorious and his duo, which leaves so much loot for Quinn and Defiable at the Daily Bugle.
That's 2 eliminations for Quinn and Defiable. 6 points right off the bat. I know they're feeling good about that, but look over at Sleepy Sound here on North Side. We have Vanillas and Wavy Jacob, and there's actually another duo which has taken the pirate ship over, it seems, and I'm kind of curious if they've been taking shots at the players here in Sleepy, or how that's kind of being used as they managed to actually get into a boat here, take some rocket shots at one of the players as Vanillas here has been cracked.
I love that idea. They realize they're separated because of the shot he put down with the pistol, so they know he's by himself, using the boat to start it off, get the pieces, and now they're just chasing Vanillas down, and Wavy Jacob cannot get there in time to save the day. Vanillas will drop, and he's going to have to do it as a solo.
They do manage to take down Vanillas, but this is like game 1 situation with Arkham and Epic, right? Wavy Jacob has an option now, right? Does he wait it out, go for that reboot card, or does he try and play out the whole game as a solo? It's a difficult decision. I mean, he can get that reboot, but is it really worth it if he gets it later in the match as we switch over to Arkham and Epic Whale back in Coney Crossroads? And just like we were saying, Jacob, this engagement hasn't been finished quickly in any of the matches, and it looks like it's going to be the same here for game 3 unless something interesting happens.
Yeah, last game you saw Zooks and Bacon really disrupt this fight from the right side of Cody Crossroads, but in consecutive games, Arpic and Ekim have never received 0 placement points until today. There's only one thing in history that has disrupted anything, and that has to be me.
Look, Jacob, I mean, I really hate to say it. Like, I'm with you, right? I'm casting alongside you, but your predictions, man, I don't know if you're cursed or what's wrong, but something happens every time you predict the duo, man. But let's see maybe if they can make the comeback, right? Because it's not even close to over yet. We've only played 2 games out. Still have so much more action. And Arkham Epic, I mean, I'm confident that they will definitely be able to make a comeback here if they can figure out this early game as Epic Whale trying to connect some angles, connect some shots here onto his opponent. Scary, though, getting a nice peek with that combat SMG, but it's not enough as his duo partner, Epic Whale, does get cracked, but Arkham takes down Polar Bear. Now they have the advantage.
And this is the start I was looking for. Honestly, after arching Arkham last night, He's been going through it. I don't know what he ate, but he was kind of going sick through round 3, not feeling the best. So it's great to see that it's not necessarily affecting it, I would say, too much, especially when it comes to their game plan, breaking in. And finally, with a capital F at the beginning of that one, they come out on top and they win their first off-spawn exchange.
I mean, that's what you'd like to see, right? When they have the player advantage, it wasn't like game 1, right? They played that quickly, instantly, going for the 2 versus 1 engagement, getting that final elimination, and you know they're feeling good now. This could be the start of their comeback, but taking a look at a replay here in the Rocky Reels, King of Kings looks like they might have came out on top here, might rename themselves to the King of Rocky Reels soon. as they're doing pretty good.
That was a nice shot right there. Polar Bear just hits the other side even. I don't think he takes as much damage, but Wavy Jacob looking like he's going to probably try to go back for the reboot card. And I like this idea. There's so much time on those cards. You can go ahead and leave, get the resources, try to loot up, and kind of give yourself enough time to go back for it later in the game, assuming it is going to be uncontested. And what's not uncontested is Command Cavern. Honestly, I don't think it'll ever be uncontested.
I mean, this is the most contested spot, literally. I mean, you have Tilted Towers that is quite a popular drop spot. See a lot of duos there, but the Command Cavern, I mean, you can see it on the mini-map. Duos on the north side, south side, east side, west side, even on the hills, the further out from the Command Cavern. I mean, you got duos, you got players everywhere. As Par and Rays are in the lower part there, but switching over to an engagement here that could happen with Landjock and Punisher against Evol there, and their duo partner. It looks like they got on the aggressive side of their duo as they're pushing them quite strong here.
Yep, it does look like they want to try to utilize the rifts or the IO car that Punisher and Landjock keep finding themselves in possession of, as Evo's just going to try to chase him down. And honestly, this could be a big play here to start off big, because you saw they were kind of on the back foot last game with the Storm Surge through some of it, not all of it, but this is definitely a way to kind of start off early as they're trying to chop down Evo, prevent him from taking the high ground, but it's not going to be enough. He's going to get it for now, but how long can he hold on to it, especially with so many other duos that might try to insert themselves into this fight?
Oh, looks like they do have a shield keg running. I was going to say, I don't see a shield on Landjock there, but now, as he recuperates it slowly, they're looking to see if they can get a counter shot here. Punisher taking shots, holding builds, but look at On One, just like you're saying, going to try and drop them both down. This could be a huge play for Evol and On One.
Oh, it's connected somewhere. Oh, no.
The ramp up top. Evo doesn't see it. There it goes.
Evo just finished that one off. He just needs to kind of break it down.
It's still connected, though.
Oh, yeah, it's connected to the zip lines. Oh, my gosh. They didn't see that one coming there, but that's great thinking from Landjock and Punisher, thinking for the future, but finally it's going to get chopped down. Landjock takes some fall damage. Punisher does not, and honestly, that's not a ton of damage overall. They can still fight this.
But it's enough damage for them to want to get aggressive here as Evo looking to see if he can get a bit more with that combat. SMG is On One. Getting a bit of real estate here, getting a bit of walls, looking to see if he can get that shot with the striker pump shotgun, as he does have a legendary one currently. He can hit very hard with that if he connects the shot correctly, but On One actually going to get cracked here now, leaving it up to Evol, going for the box fight. Meanwhile, his duo partner heals up.
Taking the piece control, trying to get those edits in to chop down piece by piece. They have so many chug splashes, they have floppers, so many heals to go around. On both sides even, you see the med kit being passed around, but that med kit, you have to kind of stay idle for 10 seconds while you pop it, and that's not time you want to give up to your opponent to try to get aggressive, but the shots continue to fire off from both of these teams, but I think it goes over to On One and Evo because of those splashes.
I mean, this engagement though, Jacob, like, is it really worth it at this point? You can see at the bottom, right, the zone, I mean, it's coming to a close in 25 seconds. They're already so far out, and I think they're realizing this. I mean, even if they take this engagement and come out on top, they'll secure those eliminations, but will they be able to make it back? I believe there are some rifts here to where Evol is running to, so they'll have the rotation, but I mean, just from this engagement, they've kind of been set back a little bit here.
Say rifts or an IO card. They're looking for one of those two things, as Wavy Jacob, also known as Fluffy Dolphin.
Love the name.
You guys, I mean, it is a good name. I like to see the original names, but if you're going to name yourself a Fluffy Dolphin, I like it overall. And honestly, dolphins eat fish. That's why he has the floppers. So, I mean, he's staying true to his name.
I mean, thinking ahead, right? Gotta, you know, make it happen, right? You got the name, got the combination in the game. But look at Azuki's here with Bacon. Looks like they like this position. I feel like they were here last game, or maybe game one. Looking for some shots here, the Butter Barn, seeing what they can do, right? Seeing what they can make happen. And speaking about making things happen, we have the fluffiest of the Dolphins here. Gonna get a reboot on Vanillas.
What are the odds? There's nobody around them at all. That's that Nord team trying to get themselves a center spot. They go off of here, and that goes on over to Wavy Jacob and Vanillas, who have that second chance as a duo. Bacon and Zooks here, though. That's going to be the biggest thing. They always get that early surge on the Coney Crossroads team, but they never go over onto that side of the rotation. They like to go south and then to west. They never like to directly cross paths, because right after Coney Crossroads, you know it's going to be tilted. It's contested spot after contested spot.
Yeah, that's just not a situation you want to put yourself into, right? You got to plan ahead, figure out your rotates, especially depending on the duos which are in your lobby. That's why, you know, doing your research is so important for these matches, because you know the 50 duos you're going against. You can try and figure out where they're dropping, right, and how you plan your rotate depending on that. If you want to get more tags, if you don't want to get into engagements, you can kind of try and make a plan, right? And that's what these top-tier duos do going into these round fours, into these semis, into these finals. As we have Jartrex here and Kytrex looking to see if they can get some tags.
Cross map, not too much. NA has averaged the fewest eliminations during Zone 1 and 2. Honestly, does that surprise you at all? We're known as the Wild Wild West.
I mean, we're known as the Wild West, but also the Wild Storm Surge West, right? I mean, Storm Surge always is incredibly strong, especially in the first matches on the West region. So seeing that we also have the fewest eliminations for these first few matches, I mean, it makes sense.
Does it make sense right now with Baka and Delta? I don't know what happened to Delta, but 14 below the damage threshold after 12 above. He has all the heals in the world right below him. He just needs to get the shots, and honestly, right now is the time to get it while you have those heals below you, but it does look like he's going to try to rotate to a higher position before he starts trying to fire off.
What's impressive, though, is that Wavy Jacob and his duo here on the right side, although he had to get the reboot, he was still able to get enough damage to be above, even if it's only by 2 damage. At least they're above right now, and they have a bit of time here to look for some more tags. Is now 29 above, but Baka here, 16 below. Really, I mean, has time to look for shots, but if he doesn't make something happen soon, that damage is just going to keep increasing bit by bit.
Especially since he has to rotate out further and further away. He's just trying to build some height and get some information. He sees partially built boxes all around, but nobody really showing their hand. But there goes the peak that he wanted. He knows that somebody's trying to climb that mountain. He's even looking backside of zone where a couple teams are also at, but it's just about being patient enough to get the shots, and that's exactly what Baka's going to do. Be patient, calm, cool, collected, especially after the first 2 games. Your confidence has to be at a high.
Boyer here, though, on the right side. You can see 154 below. Gets nice shots, though, onto his opponent, dropping that down to 98, but wants to get a bit more here as Baka is in the zone. Has 101 above, Jacob. I mean, we saw those tags happen, but he's going to have to get the rotation done here in a bit. As Boyer, though, is now only 2 below as he's knocked down Punisher. Landshark and Punisher, we saw them in there early. They had to rotate a little late, so now seeing the Punisher gets knocked, it's going to be very difficult for Landshark.
Yeah, they've been kind of not having the best days so far. So many teams they have to go through on that bottom left hand, and if they don't get that IO car early and start to rotate on out, it's looking like it's going to be a trek for them, a journey, especially if they get that far pull as Pollo throwing down the first of 2 shield cakes to try to get him and his duo as much shield as possible, and that's where you got to get it. Use that to take the damage, but no, I didn't mean actually take the damage from the side. You got to start putting some of your own as they're 56 below.
Victor now going to get cracked, actually taken down to 28 HP, but gets a huge striker pump shot into his opponent, manages to get the finish, but gets knocked down, ultimately to Storm Surge. Just Boyer here now, 56 below, taking shots onto Landshark, trying to see if they can secure a bit of damage. They have the shield keg down. Great use of it during the Storm Surge ticks, but Landshark looking for an angle, gets the shot onto Boyer, but it's not enough to knock him down as he pops so minis, and now Landshark has to make this 2 versus 1 happen if he wants to keep going.
They're out healing for 4 Surge. That has me so shook right now because that's so many consumables that they're using. And even if they get this refresh onto Landshark, I don't think he's going to have the items that they're looking for, but Pripus, Thoric, they might have what you're looking for. And this is the aggression that Pollo needs to have here sitting in 12th place. But if you think about it right now, they do not have a ton of builds, and with that knock, that's going to give them the green light.
Green light to keep pushing forward, looking for more, as now they're in a 2 versus 1. Arkham also got knocked down on the feed. Hopefully they're doing well here as Boyer trying to get that finish, take down the knock, and there it is. Gets the Siphon back now. 86 shield, but be careful as Crypass finding the angle from behind, cracking Boyer, but his duo partner here making it happen when he needs to, gets the damage done. But now the zone's closing, Jacob. They gotta make a rotate.
He knows he has the med miss, so he can take some of that storm surge damage, or storm damage. Gonna recycle the launch pad as well. At least he's gonna look for it. Finally, he's gonna find it after a couple of extra ticks there. Gonna get to reunite with his teammate. Or, I mean, you can ask me if this is a great play. Go ahead, try to get yourself and your teammate a great spot.
Looking to see if he can use that nice slide mechanic to get into zone. And look at Baka, too. Actually used one of the cannons to rotate into zone. Delta, just like you said, is up as well, but now 49 above. They have the materials. They just don't really have too many shields. Hopefully, Baka here can connect some shots and play it out safe.
I like the way he's not getting too greedy. And that's where the consistent gameplay comes from, knowing that in a lot of these situations, it's not as dire as it may seem, especially with so many other teams in the lobby here. And I like what they're doing as well. I don't like the position completely over water, but since they have no other place to go, they're just building a tunnel, a safe rotation as possibly can be, and then waiting for the next zone. They're not going to overbuild here. They're going to wait for the next zone to pop and try to figure out where they need to go.
Grippy, though, going to be dripped down to 18 HP as Storm Surge finally going to take them out here, but Baka now seems to have made a tarp into the zone. They've actually gotten enough damage as well. But now, can they make that comeback, right? Can they break the curse of the reboot in the NA West region, get a victory royale after doing so, as Quinn also going to take down an opponent here. Wavy Jacob, now we saw him in the early part of the game, trying to make the rotate happen here. On the more dead side of zone, you can see on the mini-map there's not too many duos here, but there is one duo that's applying pressure to them.
Yep, just using the builds, recycling the builds, just trying to make their way towards zone. Instead of just beelining it, taking the damage and running through it, they're ready to pause. They're ready to take their time. I see Bacon and Zook second place, and they're taking their time as well. They're getting the early damage off spawn, whether it's Coney or everybody else on the map, and then they try to make their way towards zone, and they're continuously building towards the high ground in different zones to continuously get that damage. Even though they don't have a high number of eliminations, they don't have the pressure of Storm Surge on their back.
I mean, Zuki's and Bacon, if you're in their position now, I mean, you just want to stay consistent, right? Second place on the leaderboard, you really just want to get to that late game. So if they can get the damage from afar, get those tags without risking anything, really. That's what you want to do. As we look at Wale here and Source, though, who are close to the #1 duo right now, Baka and Delta. The thing is, though, they're not looking too healthy here, Jacob. 25 shield, 29 HP to work with. Have to rotate on the water here. Not too many mats. I mean, they've got a decent amount, but is it going to be enough for the next zone?
Yeah, they're in the position what they are in mats is because they just built up into this point from the edge of water right behind them that's in zone. So even though they're expanding and they're using a lot of the resources, they just need to get themselves towards the edge and find the shots as they're 99 below the damage threshold. That's scary for them because they don't have heals if they get shot back.
Look, it's doable, though, Jacob. I mean, I'm seeing this situation.
If you say it, I believe it.
And I'm thinking it's doable. The problem here is the HP, right? They can get the damage. They have enough builds to maybe build close enough to a duo to take an engagement, but it's just the HP, right? 29 HP, 25 shield. It's just, you're one burst away, one striker pump shot away from getting eliminated. So you really have to be careful. As we see Bacon on the right side, only 31 below. A lot better of a situation here than Baka and Delta. Don't have to do as much damage, don't have to risk as much. But Baka, I mean, he's doing a good job here, getting the tags.
Do I say it or do I not say it? That's what I'm asking myself right now. We saw Arkham go down early. Epic Well was able to get the reboot. I saw Arkham and Epic go down again.
Ooh.
3 straight games where they're not having the best time of their life in qualifier 3. Very, very similar to the first 2. But honestly, if anybody's going to be able to do it at 3, it is going to be them. But they have to think of a monster game plan as Bacon and Zooks. They get themselves a zone, a sweet spot at that, and they're just going to build up and try to command that high ground pressure.
Ooh, Baka going to get knocked down here. Now it's all up to Delta. Storm Surge is ticking. Sees to see if he should pick up his duo partner. Look for damage. Trying to kind of decide what's the best option, what's the best plan here. Well, as Delta and Baka finally going to be eliminated there to Storm Surge. Switching over to Bacon quickly, though, who's playing alongside Zuki's here. They're in the second place spot, looking to take first. But they got to be careful as the pressure is on them. Bacon gets taken down here. Now it's all up to Zuki's. 28 HP to work with. Storm Surge is no longer ticking, but Storm Surge doesn't protect your feet as he gets taken down to fall damage.
Man, I don't know who that was, but y'all just bully Vanillas. That wasn't even nice. You know how hard Wavy Jacob worked to get him back in the game? They just take out his covers and immediately slice him down. But honestly, again, Wavy Jacob's one of those solo-style players. If anybody can get aggressive and pick up a good number of points as a solo for this duo, it is going to be him.
He's also got one of each consumable. I mean, one flopper, one mini shield, one med kit. Will he be able to use them, though? I mean, what's he going to be able to do here? He has the ammunition, 78 shots. I mean, it's enough. He can really make it happen. Just like you're saying, if a player's going to do it, it's going to be Wavy Jacob here. As we have Source and Wale, you have to make a rotate. They actually have a vehicle still in this 5th zone, Jacob. So we might see a first moving vehicle rotate if they could perform this correctly.
Ooh, they have a ton of consumables, including the shield keg, which honestly they probably want to pop first, sooner rather than later, depending on the situation that they're in. But man, they're going to have to, honestly, they don't really have to do anything with that car. They're going to be able to kind of save the mats, the resources later on in the game. They just need to be able to hop out at the perfect time, not take the damage when it explodes.
Wale here, looks like they are going to be revving the engine of their vehicle here, preparing it, getting it warmed up. I mean, they are in the snowy area of the map, so it takes a little bit longer to get that car going. No, I'm just kidding. But looking at Pars and Rays here, 2 eliminations, 60 points. Have almost full materials here, Jacob. They want to make something happen.
Yep. This is a team that I'm just slowly but surely always coming a believer in. And I honestly, I don't think anybody in this game wants to hear me say I'm a believer in them, because that leads me to picking them. And you know how that one goes, is everybody flying through the sky. Midi, Brusso, Kaboo, Pollo, Wale, and Source finally using that IO car that they're just waiting. They're just waiting until Storm's on their back, so that way they can just beeline it towards the zone and not waste any time waiting for the zone to actually get there.
We have combat right now, looking to see if they can take the high ground here in the first zone. But then you see Wavy Jacob, you see Pars Rays, they're flying around. I'm sure Wavy doesn't want to risk anything here, so not going to go for that high ground. Going to land directly in the front side of zone. Only 25 above, so have to get some damage. And look how well Wale and Source here are rotating in the vehicle. I mean, they're doing exactly what they were prepping for.
And look at the resources that they're saving, the heals that they don't have to use. And honestly, like I said, just hopping out of the car at the perfect time. They're going to save the health from it exploding and taking them down, but they're going to expand, try to build out, and force other players with their backs up against the wall. And it's going to work out even if they didn't get the elimination themselves.
Look at the high ground, too. We got a new duo who's taking it. Kaboo